welcome to this week's edition of WCS Sports Connection. I'm your co-host, Jeremy Qualls, and with us, as always, is local football expert, Tate Mathews. Tate, you know we're getting close. We talked about this a week ago. We talked about how close we are. We're now a week closer. Football is going full pads, full steam right now. We've had the Gateway Tire Coaches Social at Buffalo Wings and Rings. Garth Bold and that group really do a great job of that every single year.
Without a doubt. And, it's always very well attended. Fun to see all the schools there. BGA usually comes too. So I believe I'm right on this. Coach Charles Rathbone won the tires. So I know he's happy he came. Matt Kreisky won the tires last year. Got some wings this year. Coach Thrash from Brentwood High, Lady Bruins basketball, won a TV. So if you weren't in attendance this year, I suggest you get there next year. What I can't figure out is how come you and I never win anything?
I don't know. It didn't make any sense, did it?
Kurt Jones, Dr. Jones, won a pair of Ultra Boosts. So, but it was neat, man. That's a fun night. Really appreciate Garth putting it on, and Mark obviously letting us have the space.
Absolutely. Buffalo Wings and Rings, always a destination for any district event we do. It's great space for that. Plenty of TVs, great wings. Now, what Garth and those guys do, you got WAKM 950 AM radio station there, Terry, Stormy, all those guys. They really support what we do athletically. They go to, obviously, and to our football games and do the reporting as well, but greatly appreciative of those guys and the job they do.
Yeah, and they, spent the whole night interviewing coaches, and, so it gave them another opportunity to kind of get the word out about their team coming up this year. And good guys, man. Good guys all the way around.
Speaking of interviews, the 2018 WCS Football Media Day was held last week. A very well-attended event. Every year I kind of worry about who's going to show up. Are we going to have anybody here? Does anybody care about this information? And once again, 20-plus media outlets, every major TV media outlet was there with live look-ins on their newscast. I think that's pretty neat. I don't know that any other high school could probably get that traction. Maybe they can, maybe they will. The timing of this is perfect. They're looking for information. Our coaches did a phenomenal job, as they do every year, of getting up there, taking those questions and answering them appropriately. Kids also representing their schools as well.
Without a doubt, yeah. And, we talked about it a few weeks ago. I doubt there's a lot of local colleges that I don't think can get 10 media outlets, much less 22 or over 20. So it was neat. Good night. The coaches it's always fun to see the personalities come out, and but the coaches always do a great job, and seeing the kids, they do a great job as well too. So that's fun to watch. Really, I learned some things. There's some things that you forget about, and some of the questions that you heard the media members ask the players, you kind of said, man, I forgot about that. And I thought there were some really good answers, really good questions. It was a neat night, and like you said, very well attended. I always like to see how you see people staying over to watch the other teams. Really neat. So good night. 17
days until the Jamboree. The WCS Wilco-Ruco Showdown will be on August the 9th at Nolensville and August the 10th at Murfreesboro, Oakland. We discussed this last week. We'll do it again. Fairview Cascade at 5 o'clock. At 6 o'clock, Summit versus Blackman. At 7 o'clock, Independence versus Laverne. And at 8 o'clock, Nolensville versus Centennial. That is on the first night, August the 9th, at Nolensville. On the second night, at Oakland, Brentwood versus Riverdale in the first game at 5. At 6 o'clock, Franklin versus Stewart's Creek. At 7 o'clock, Page versus Siegel. And at 8 o'clock, Ravenwood versus Oakland. $7 ticket price each night will be well worth the money. Media Day will be shown here on WCTV later this week as well, if you want to see that in its entirety and see the answers and the questions that were asked during this event. So last week we went Brentwood through Independence. We're going to keep on going with our capsules for the 2018 football season. Up first, new head coach Paul Derrick, Nolensville Knights. What do we have in store?
Well, third year of the program, right? So we're taking another step in the evolution of that program, and got a brand new head coach. Big shoes to fill. We've all talked about that. But Coach Derrick's been there since the beginning. He was with Coach Hester at Ravenwood, and so first year as a head coach, but it's not like he's unfamiliar with the program. He was already running the defense. He'll keep doing that. A guy who his football knowledge, IQ, he knows football now. So just there's only, you were one in basketball, there's really only one way to learn how to be a head coach, and that's be a head coach, right? So I think he's ready. He got a great hire in Pat Curran, bringing him over as offensive coordinator from Brentwood High. A really good football coach, teammate of his in college, and I don't know if they're the same age high school wise, but both Father Ryan guys. So that was a big get, and the good thing is you didn't graduate anybody last year because you didn't have any seniors, right? Brandon Morton is going to be he's going to be a big time player at quarterback. Golly, you and I saw him at Media Day. I think he's gotten taller from last year. So dual threat guy, a lot of RPOs that we talked about with that running game. And so going to be exciting to see the evolution of him. I know that they hosted their own 7-on-7 a couple of Saturdays, big tournament they had. I know there were a lot of positives that came out of him and a few negatives, but that's to be expected right now. But excited to see once we get into pads how much he has progressed, and then the running game with Colton Dooley. I don't know that anybody in the sports conference runs the ball as hard as he does. He's a battering ram now. When he's not looking to juke and jive, is he? He hits that hole. He's coming downhill. If you're in the way, he's going to try to run you over. So, but I'm very excited about him. But a lot of guys to be excited about. But those are two guys right now that are going to have to play well for them to be offensively, and I think they're going to have to be able to score some points to do what they want to do this year.
Tim Stayskill, tight end. One name I want you to remember. Also, C.J. Ware coming from the defensive side at defensive end. Potential a little bit of tight end as well. Big question number one. Paul Derrick, offense. Pat Curran, offensive coordinator. What is going to change on this outlook?
They'll put their personality into it a little bit more. You'll see a little bit more of like an H or a tight end, or at least that's one of the things they wanted to see in spring practice. You mentioned we're now in the pads, so I think that's where they're going. 7-on-7, that all looks fine and dandy, but we're not running the ball yet. So you'll see a little bit more 11 personnel out of them. You'll definitely see a tight end, hybrid, H, whatever you want to call it, to help with the running game. So as long as that goes well this week and next week, I'd say those would be the main differences you see. But bottom line is the type of offense they've been running with the RPOs and things like that, that's suited to Wharton. So, what's the old saying? Don't try to put a square peg in a round hole. I'd say you wouldn't see much difference.
Well, you mentioned Brandon.
I mean, an expert like you will notice it, but the naked eye won't.
You mentioned Brandon Wharton earlier. Talk about his growth. You go and look at him on the basketball floor this past summer for Coach Wes Lambert. The biggest difference in summer ball is now we're catching alley-oops, and now we're finishing with a dunk. That's a big difference from the year before. Lots of things have happened. This kid fits every college profile. Athletic, 6'4", can throw it. Now the question is, right now, where is his traction? Where is his recruitment coming from? He's getting some looks, potential offers from OVC level, mid-major. If this kid was to have a huge year and look and successful in every facet of the game, could somebody big from the Power 5 come into the late?
Sure.
It's out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
By this time of the year, everybody usually has it locked in, but could this potentially happen?
Without a doubt, because there's going to be, there's going to be some schools that think they have a kid, and then for whatever reason they don't get him, or something else happens, and you can't. You look at some of the great quarterbacks that have gone through the WCS Sports Conference since you've been here, and they're head scratchers. Man, why isn't anybody on this kid? Well, none of them were 6'4". None of them ran the 40 that he runs, and has. What I'm saying, he's got he checks all the boxes.
If Andrew Bunch was 6'4".
Wow.
I hate to make these comparisons, but this is what they look at.
Wherever he wanted to go.
They all say, if he was only a few inches taller.
Yeah, he didn't have to be 6'4".
Or if he was a little bit faster, or if it's this, and this. It seems like he meets all that criteria that we're talking about. It is on a new and upcoming team. It's a different classification. They may or may not take into the account of the level of competition. But speaking of level of competition, let's talk about their schedule. Look at it. Opening up August 17th, Fayetteville away. Then they host Page in Spring Hill. Then they go to Summit on September 7th. Lawrence County away. Brentwood at home. Tullahoma away. Lincoln County away. Maplewood away. And then they have the bye week and finish up with Marshall County at home. let's talk about this very quick. Region games, Marshall County, Maplewood, Tullahoma, Lawrence County, Spring Hill. How many of those 5 games can they win?
5.
Win them all.
I'm not saying they will.
A lot has transpired since last week on the
right.
Marshall County game.
No doubt.
Okay, they lose their quarterback. He transfers to Giles County. That game right there, and now everybody's kind of licking their chops a little bit, saying, "Hang on, they're bringing it back. They're coming back to the field, if you will." Maplewood's got a new look as well. That could crash and burn prior to this date, or it could be really, really good. That seems like an interesting game to note.
That'll be a fun game. They've got a really good quarterback in Bobo Hodges. He's back, dual threat guy. He's not tall like Wharton is, but he's a heck of a player. But yes, they're going to be really athletic. Going to be a lot of athletes on the field between those 2 games. But I think a game they can definitely win.
Pretty decent receiver out there for them as well. Tullahoma, Lawrence County, Spring Hill. What about Spring Hill? You know a little bit about Spring Hill usually, and so they've got a new look as well. New running back.
Yeah, well, and I'm sure he's good. He is good, but he's different than the one they had.
Yeah.
So
we went Georgia Tech signing, correct?
Dante Smith.
Right.
Correct. And then I assume you're talking about Bubba.
Yes.
Bubba Johnson's there now. Workhorse, a guy you're going to give the ball to.
A lot like Colton Dooley.
Yes, yeah. I think a little bit different. I think he's more. I think Colton maybe has got a little bit more spark, breakaway, but a guy you can hand the ball to a bunch. But Dante Smith was a guy. If you gave him a seam, he's gone.
All right, so let's look at. You think they're all 5 winnable games for certain? Now, let's put it in context. Let's look at the past. Last year, first year they're eligible to go to postseason. They get in. They're not the first team to do so without seniors. However, they've won as a 4 seed over a 1 seed.
Yes.
First time ever that any team without a senior has won a game. They've been there now. You have to believe that Nolensville's good enough this year with everybody returning that they get into postseason. Would that be a fair assessment?
Without a doubt.
Do they get further than the second round this time?
I think so. Like I said, I think it's going to come down to the last game of the season is going to be for the region championship.
Between them and Marshall County?
Between them and Marshall County,
That's
I think.
pretty stout.
I know. But
I like it.
And then with Bryce Wallace transferring to Giles County, now that gives them 9 games to get a quarterback ready. But I think they got a chance to win this thing. So depending on, I'm not exactly sure who they match up with, but yeah, I think it's very possible. If they win the region, then yes, they're definitely going to the second round.
Imagine what that place is going to be like.
Go crazy.
The Knights. That's a good place. You want to see a good football game with a lot of support?
Yes.
That's a pretty neat place.
In a beautiful setting, too.
Charles Rathbone back again this year for the Page Patriots. I'm not sure what year of tenure he's in. We were looking the other day. He might be the most, him and Donnie might be the most tenured. Well, Coach Hughes, too. They're getting to be the old guys of the group because we've got a bunch of new guys cycling in. But Coach Rathbone Page, Patriots, finished the year last year in the playoffs. Looking at their opponent's schedule this year, open up with the 8:40 game, August 17th at Page. That's something they always circle every year. We can play like it's not important, but we know how important it is to those 2 clubs.
Both places, it's very important. It's going to be on the turf. First game on the turf, brand new turf out at Page. That's going to be awesome, and yeah, it's big for. And it seems to be a really as that game goes, their season has kind of gone too. So
really?
It's a great way to start off the season. It's big to both of them. It's definitely big to those principals. I know Dr. Jones is new this year, but Dr. Pantal and Dr. Oyer, it was really big to them.
So remind me, who won last year's 840? It was at Fairview. And
It's Page.
DJ did not get to play.
That's right.
Page did win.
But DJ is not back.
That's true. There's a little different looks. Page, 8:40 game, WCS game day will be on the turf. First time in school history that's got games being played on turf. Obviously, game day will be there. Nolensville, at Franklin County, at Ravenwood. I love that matchup that they're playing those guys. At home against Antioch, at home against Summit, at Lincoln County, at home against White County, at home against Shelbyville, and then at Columbia. Those games, talking about those region matchups, Franklin County, Summit, Lincoln County, White County, Shelbyville, Columbia. I really think that Summit, Shelbyville, and Page are the cream of the crop in that particular region. Those 3 teams should be fighting out for first through third. Do you agree with that?
I do, and they're all a little bit different, so that's what's going to be fun to watch. They won't see anybody else on their schedule quite like quite like Shelbyville, and then Summit is different than they are, obviously, with the wing T. No Ty Carter, but we do know they have they got another really good running back in George Odumegwu. So, I think you're right. Those three are the cream of the crop. I think they all pose matchup problems with each other. That you know what I'm saying? I mean, they all do something that the other one struggles with. Problem is, same thing with Page. So I think it's just like any other year with Page. If they can stay healthy, you look at the years they've had, and if they can stay healthy, they're going to get into the playoffs. And if they're healthy going into the playoffs, they got a chance to be really good.
Well, I hate to make these comparisons, but it's the only thing we have to go on right now. 7-on-7, I've heard nothing but positive things about Page and how they've looked. It's probably anchored by the fact that Michael Burdick's coming back. He's an athlete for Page, good wide receiver.
Looks good.
A lot of other things. Cade Walker, I believe, is at the quarterback position.
Miles Bond looking good in the wide receiver corps, but you're right, Cade's looking good.
So, what can we look at offensively for Page? Obviously, Bubba Johnson's gone. Maybe looked at run first, pass second last year. Will this change? Will they be looking for Michael Burdick as their number one target predominantly? What's going to happen with the offense at Page?
Well, obviously it'll be a little different, but it'll be very similar. But no, you don't have a guy that you're going to hand the ball to 25 times with him, but that's okay. You got other athletes out in space and get them the ball. But you mentioned the 7-on-7. All we can go off is 7-on-7s right now. They went to the Titans 7-on-7. The only games they lost to were Ravenwood and Oakland, two pretty good 6A teams. Then they go to Shelbyville and beat Shelbyville in their own tournament. And Shelbyville had gone 18-0 the week before and during the week and won the Riverdale 7-on-7. And I saw them. Trammell's back, Grayson Trammell's back. That guy can fling it. And so they went up there and beat them. There were some good athletic teams, and they won that. So all that being said, it looks like they're going to be able to pass the ball. Obviously, we got to make sure the offensive line is gelled up because of that pass rush. But I don't think it's going to be too drastic. But you will see it'll be more of a balanced offense, I guess, is the best way to say it. But as we already know, got to keep Michael Burdick healthy. If you do, he had 4 interceptions in the first 4 weeks just on the defensive side, and just as explosive on the offense. He's a guy who can start for anybody in the county, in the mid-state, and he's a playmaker. So and Cade's really looking good at quarterback. He's really doing a good job with that. So, I'm excited to see where they go this year.
We've got coming up Monday, July 30th, Giles County is a scrimmage there. That will be very interesting to see what's going to happen, what's going to take place between those two clubs, and then they follow that up on August 3rd with a scrimmage against Lipscomb, and then obviously they play Siegel in the Jamboree, the Wilco Ruco Jamboree on Friday, August the 10th in the 7 o'clock slot. So we've established the fact that Page, we feel like we'll be in the top playoff contentions in that top 4 in that region.
Without a doubt.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, they're going to the playoffs.
Okay. Ravenwood, moving on. 6A group, Ravenwood, Coach Matt Daniels right now is kind of the talk of all the circles in football. They feel like they're a little bit ahead of schedule. Coach Daniels knew coming in as a second-year head coach in his first year of that freshman, sophomore group. They feel really, really confident about that. When it's their time, 2-3 years down the road, they're going to be pretty good. Well, they end up winning the region last year, way ahead of schedule, and they're feeling pretty good about things right now in Region 6, 6A. Now, you know that Coach Blade and Indy and just everybody down the list, Franklin, including Centennial, Brentwood, are going to all vie and have something to say about this. But Coach Daniels and his crew looking mighty strong early on.
Yeah, they are. And a lot of guys that were big-time contributors last year were young. They're back. We talked a lot about some of the quarterbacks in this league. And Brian Garcia, if you just look at at results and stats from last year, he's got a case to say he's the top returning quarterback from.
And he doesn't fit any checklist that you'll ever see from collegiate level.
No.
And that's what's the craziest thing.
Yeah. He's a winner. He's a competitor.
A winner.
He reminds me of the Zach Mizell from Page. He's nowhere close to 6'2", but they got him back there in the gun where he can see, he can move, he can run. He's got the knack for finding the open receiver and get him to him, and
he's-
without a doubt,
He's got some good receivers.
yeah, that's right. Brentwood's got a pair
Oh,
of explosive ones, but with Andrew Mason and Anthony Holmes now, they got a couple of guys that can stretch the field.
How fun is the Battle Woods going to see? You're going to see those two receivers from the Brentwood side. Now you're going to see, like you said, Holmes and Mason on this side of the ball, man.
You know that's DJ Reggie.
Yes,
right
I do. I know that very well. Man,
He's a lot faster than
You
DJ.
talking about you got Chase Bishop, Avery Williams on one side, right? And those guys matching up. And I don't know that those guys are two-way guys. They might play a little bit, but that would be pretty fun to see that.
Oh yeah, well Brentwood's going to try to two platoon if they can. They are going to two platoon. Ravenwood's going. I don't think they'll do it quite as much, but yeah, I mean with those two on the edges, and then they'll put Holmes in space as well to get him the ball, and with Garcia back there making plays, I think they're very excited about that. Now they have to find out their offensive line. They don't know exactly where that is. Obviously, we talked about it. We went into pads today. Don't be surprised if you don't see some puppies on the offensive line this year, because that's probably where they're going to be. They're going to have to place one or two in there on the offensive line. So they get that gelled up, they're going to be really good. Don't forget this name, Jake Briningstool, tight end transfer that's coming in. This guy's a weapon. He gives them another weapon in the passing game, kind of like a Gronk, not personality-wise, but look-wise, matchup problem-wise. He's a big kid who can run. Those linebackers, those walked-up safeties, going to have a hard time guarding him or covering him in the passing game. So just another weapon for Garcia. I really do believe the success to Ravenwood this year all revolves around how quickly can they get that offensive line gelled. If they can get it ready by week one, it's going to be a nice season.
You got to think they did lose a couple of key players. You got to think of Stalkup. Man, he ran through and caught for touchdowns early on last season. Then you've got McCarthy, one of the best linebackers. I put him up there with C.J. Grissom. You're talking about a hard-hitting dude, man. Anthony McCarthy at linebacker for them as well. You mentioned Mason Garcia coming back, Anthony Holmes, Gabe Sleenhoff. They've always had a knack to have a few big dudes in the trenches. Gabe Sleenhoff being one of those guys. The young man that went to Duke a few years ago, they always seem to have those. Patrick Lighton. That always kind of come through that. Going to be so fun, man.
Another loss too. This is big. You can't overlook this. Chandler Tygard, offense coordinator last year. He's moved on. Coach Daniels is going to take it over, and he'll be fine. But that was a heck of a. When you're a head coach, there's a lot of head
another
coaches.
responsibility, right?
That's right. That's right. I mean, that takes away from managing the game. It's to some degree, right?
Right.
So he had a guy he really trusted and did a great job with it. He's gone. Coach Daniels puts on the play caller hat, so they'll be fine. But it is a change.
Battle of the Woods. We spoke of that. That will be September the 14th. That is at Ravenwood.
Do you know the story about the Rotary breakfast? I did not know this till last week. Heard it from both head coaches.
Was Coach Crawford and Coach Daniels both there?
Yeah, unbelievable.
This year?
Last year, before the Battle of the Woods. Gotcha. So they have it. They both told the story the same way. I can't believe we've never heard this until last week. Condense the story down. They're getting, they're finishing up Rotary breakfast, and whoever's running asks if anybody has a prediction. This elderly gentleman in the back predicts that Ravenwood will win on a blocked kick returned for a touchdown.
And that's exactly what happened.
Exactly what happened. So the way the story got started, I hope he doesn't mind. Supposedly they were calling the head coaches and to set it up for this year, and Coach Crawford said if there was going to be any predictions, he wasn't attending this year.
That's funny. Well,
pretty neat, huh?
Yeah, Coach Matt Daniels and Ravenwood, we look forward to seeing that. Summit, we're going to finish up. Summit, Coach Brian Coleman, obviously, losing the number one running back, arguably, I'd like to say, one of the top, if not the best in the state, but he was awful good. Ty Carter, I hate that he didn't stay healthy for his entire senior campaign, but still racked up a ton of career yards. George Odumegwu now enters the building. He's no stranger. Gio can go.
No doubt about it, and he's going to have a huge year, and a lot like Ty. That was one of the things I thought was so impressive about Ty was all those things Ty did, and you knew he was getting the ball, and they still did it. Now, that's a credit to his offensive line and his receivers and his tight ends blocking for him, but still, a heck of a player. Gio's going to be the same kind of back this year. He's a little bit taller, a little bit leaner than Ty was, different, but he's got the same acceleration, I guess. He's one of those. He's not a 10-yard guy if you give him a seam. You give him a seam, he's a 30-yard guy or a house guy. So it's going to be fun to watch. Riverdale 7-on-7, he looked really good. Obviously, they're not running the ball a whole lot, but he looked good.
And he's getting some love from OVC level as well.
Oh, he'll play. You know, it's a matter of what level. But all he's got to do is just get some good tape on film for the first 3 or 4 games. They'll be able to send that out. You watch, his stock will rise. So it's going to be fun to watch him. Braden Stem, tight end. He looked good in the Riverdale 7-on-7. Obviously, we're not a real vertical passing game. Eric Coleman has not taken
vertical
full flight
passing.
yet.
That's a word that is used a lot at Summit. We like to vertical pass, and 707 is a favorite of Coach Coleman's.
Yes, I saw a great 7-on-7 game. Summit versus Stewart's Creek, 2 wing T teams. But what I love about them is, you know, some of those wing T guys show up and they don't run their offense in 7-on-7, and they're drawing. No, both Stewart's Creek and Coach Coleman, they were doing what they do, getting better. So fun, but Braden looked good. He's a guy who's going to get a lot of those passes. Ashton Kelly looked good at quarterback. Here's the thing you've been waiting on, because I know you're a fan. Destin Wade, the puppy, the freshman, one of the twins.
Oh boy, best kept secret.
He played some quarterback. He played some quarterback, and he looked good. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if we don't see a couple quarterbacks, at least early on, for Eric Coleman, Summit Spartans.
There's going to be 2, maybe even 3 pups, rookies, freshmen that will be household names by the end of this season.
I think you're
in
right.
More than one sport.
I think you're right.
Down at Summit. Old Sparty is
they're ready.
Don't lay down on them.
No.
Don't think
Jacob
about,
Douglas
hey,
looked really good at DB. He had a couple of picks as well. So.
Christian Jolly,
Player.
also helped with carrying the load a little bit with Gio there. You know, a lot of people I think are sleeping on this team. The vertical pass, whatever, they'll strike when they need to. The wheel route, watch out. Tight ends across.
Did that win? No, the catch one, right? The catch one?
The catch one.
Yeah.
Tight end drags across the middle at the most opportune times. Don't count out Old Sparty. Are you laughing because I'm even saying that?
No, I'm not counting them out.
All right, real quick. Varsity schedule versus Spring Hill at home at Indy. That would be the border battle. That will be a war. Book it. At home against White County. At home against Nolensville. At Columbia. At Page. At home against Franklin County. At home against Shelbyville. At Centennial. At Lincoln County. I just think they're too good. That they finish in the top 4 easily, if not repeat as champions. Wow.
Agreed.
I'm stepping on out there, Coach Coleman. I hope you appreciate it. I'm going to end on
that Franklin County, that student versus teacher thing.
We say that every year.
Whew, didn't matter last year.
Kidding me? That thing's over with. Old Sparty wins that game.
I think you're right. But, you know.
Tell you what we'll do. Next week we'll come back. We'll make predictions. How about that? Everybody, all the coaches usually love when we make predictions. We'll give them some billboard material for the locker rooms, and get everybody ready so we can wear hard hats at game day so they can throw bottles at us.
I can't wait.
It's going to be awesome.
I just can't. I've already told Dr. Jones. Do we have a second?
Go.
I've told Dr. Jones now, game day, you better be ready because Dr. Oyer brought it every game day. And Dr. Pantal definitely brings it.
Definitely brings it.
He told me. He already knew. He got a grin. You know that grin he's got. And
he's got a plan.
He said, I'm aware of it and I'm ready.
Okay, well, good. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.